So I didn't know if I should make this video or not, but I think it might be interesting to some of you. It's also gonna be quite embarrassing and cringe-worthy for me to reflect on my past, but I noticed that I had this project from my studies back in the day when I was just learning about UX and getting into UX. The year was roughly 2008, maybe it was 2009, 2010, over a decade ago, when Apple just launched their first iPhone.
And we are calling it iPhone. But what we're going to do is get rid of all these buttons and just make a giant screen.
$500 fully subsidized with a plan? I said, that is the most expensive phone in the world, and it doesn't appeal to business customers because it doesn't have a keyboard, which makes it not a very good email machine.
The look and feel was this glassy, glossy, skeuomorphic, opposite of what we have today, opposite of a flat, anything but flat. Awesome collection of different patterns which made everything look like a candy bar. This project is from that time. As a product, it was researched, designed, prototyped and released and had, hundreds of downloads. Ultimately, the purpose of it was for people who, let's say, are, I don't know, in their rooms or somewhere and they want to do a bodyweight workout. They could just shake a phone or click a button and would get a different type of activity. They would get the reps amount, they would have instructions with GIF animations, and then once they're done, they cannot do anymore. They would just click this button of, hey, I'm done, and it would give them estimated calorie burn amount, and they could then save it for like historical reasons to know exactly what we did, when we did it, and so forth. So it was all done and it was fully functional product. Of course, it would look much better today. I wish I could recover more assets of it, or the initial promo video and things we did with some of my friends. But anyhow, what I want to do is really to run through the process and what did I do back in the day, and just highlight some of the cringiest things. And some of the things when I was reading about it was just like, what were you thinking about? Since it was a study project, this like academic approach, I had to document everything in this report. So it's almost like a very extended case study. And immediately this was such a waffle, basically how to produce a standalone valid mobile application, make it known by using internet media. And the bad thing here is that I picked the tech stack. I knew that I wanted to prototype an app and I was passionate about fitness, and so I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna make an app and figure out the UX later. This is the completely opposite approach. This is what you should not do, because it doesn't matter if it's an app, if it's a printout, if it's a service, if it's automated bit, maybe there is no user interface whatsoever, that's great. What you should care first and foremost is the users, is the customers, the market, and then what to do with it comes later, because you shouldn't start with like, oh, I'm gonna make an app. And that's what I did, right? Like an idiot. So I defined all the limitations and things. I knew exactly the tech stack, the SDK I would use, and all that prototyping and actual app stored code environments and things of that nature, which you shouldn't care. But I had really good hypothesis and solutions, which is great. So at least I had hypothesis-driven approach. I then used Jesse James Gara, 5 Planes of User Experience, which is a great book. It's a primer for UX. You should definitely pick it up if you don't know about it yet. But it basically defines the framework of strategy, scope, structure, skeleton, surface. Add-ons were mine, the testing and communication plan to rollouts. I was quite impressed that I used this framework. I don't even know where is this taken from. Maybe there's a reference point somewhere, but it was to do with that secondary research and then quant and qualitative research bits to form the strategic bit. So I at least started with research from the beginning, even if I knew what I'm going to develop from the end of it. There is, of course, some investigation in the App Store, limitations of the technology, competitive analysis of the actual competitors. Those were quite big back in the day. I don't know if they even exist now. Surveys to understand exactly who the people are. But again, because I knew that my solution is going to be an app, this was very biased and very incorrect way to do so. I didn't even do any experience mapping or understanding how the users work out right now. I just presumed, oh, they are like myself, and so I'm going to do it. And again, this is one of my first projects, therefore that's why it's so crap. And based off of that, I interviewed only 3 people and all students and that age group. So again, there is no rationale why does that matter at all? Why did I pick those out of all the different people I could could have picked basically. And I know that in an appendix of this, I also have some very cringy personas. The only thing great about the personas is that I didn't include any of like, you know, like things which I wouldn't use. So they're very simple business goals and business objectives of what we want Mike to do. So it's all very kind of focused on both users and business basically. And having said that, there is a bit of segmentation here, like user who wants information, user who wants to be motivated, user who wants precise calculation. But this is, I guess, from that survey, right? That's how it looks like. Kind of went through a lot of marketing spiel, like the naming, so consider how to increase the adoption of the marketing, like the names. Of course, there are initial wireframes as well, which I think I thought it would look cool, like tap. It's different times, right? Let's just leave it at that. I did some schematics in much more structured wireframes, created a website. So at that point, the degree was to do web development, and I was doing a UX course as part of it. So it was a lot of to do with the coding itself. Like I learned a lot of the front-end development, but also the research and the design and everything to do in between. It was almost like a tech drop of how to answer business needs, and that's where I got kind of like a spark of like, oh, I would love to do just UX, because UX sounded so awesome. And then in a skeleton, I defined the tech stack. I already knew that I'm gonna work with this, right? From the very beginning. I defined the basic features of how to access the iPhone stuff. And again, I learned all of that. An actual code of the app as well, which is several pages to add. But this is almost like also that mistake a lot of juniors make, because they keep on adding, you know, all these deliverables, but they're meaningless, because it doesn't matter how did you arrive to that solution. What matters is the outcome. What matters is actually that you followed the right process. It's not like exactly what you designed or pushed together. I made quick architecture graph that looks pretty good. A surface, so basically branding, so color schemes, which are fantastic. Nice. With a design analysis of the information, navigation, explaining exactly the interaction states. And this Apple guidelines, when we just launched iPhones, were very minimal. So look at this flow. I mean, you would never understand what's going on here or what's that supposed to be. I guess if you click that, you go there. Anyhow, it's not worth going deeper, but when I made a website as well, explained that and why did they choose different bits, the different gestalt laws and things of that nature, persuasive design, and how like enhancing the customer experience itself. I wish I would have that video to demonstrate exactly how the flow was, because it was so awesome to actually research, design, and make something. Even if, UX was not ideal from the actual adoption engagement standpoint, it was such an awesome thing to be able to create that. And then I went to the communication plan, right? So the campaign, social networks, things of that nature, of how to approach it. That's how that app got a few hundred of the actual users to actually engage with that. So the strategy here was really important. And of course, I did some user testing in focus groups and one-to-ones, but it was definitely not enough. The user research here was subpar. Actually, why did I want to share this first and foremost? Because this is like, I see all the mistakes I keep telling people not to do made here. And those issues really are being very small on the user research side and being very big on the solutioning side. This is every single portfolio I review today is like that. Investing in the research and understanding is much more important, and also considering it much more holistically of what should be done. And I mean, here is peppered, right? A lot of different bits across, but it's not done deeply enough. It's all like kind of like, I just have an idea and I'm just gonna jump and design it. It's not great. That's the thing which you need to avoid. The only good bit about it, and this is something maybe you can take away out of this video, is really this usage of a framework, starting with the business goal, starting with the customer behaviors, or who do you want to target, defining the scope, defining the structure of a solution, defining skeleton, and then the surface, the visual designer is almost like the last bit which you could stamp on user experience. Again, from that book I mentioned before. And so I hope this is interesting. This is almost like a blast from the past. To support this channel, there is nothing better than subscribing and smashing that notification bell, as well as sharing the video, because there might be some people who benefit from such material. And on that note, and as per usual, I'll see you next time.